Hello and welcome to the Fit for Life podcast with your host, Alan Fitton. In this podcast, I will be covering fitness-related subjects and my experiences to do with nutrition, building muscle and weight loss to name a few, and how, above all, to keep fit for life. Hello and welcome back to episode 6 of the Fit for Life podcast with your host, Alan Fitton. Hello, I hope you're all well. Day's slightly later going up this week because of yesterday was Mental Health Day. Going down a segment here. And then also, what do you call it? Yesterday was a rough day for me. I lost my mother earlier this year. I'm pretty open and transparent on this podcast. This is me as a person. And it was her birthday yesterday. So I needed to take a day off from social media, content creation, etc. for obvious reasons. A little bit of me time. Didn't really know how I was going to feel on the day. That's me being open and transparent. That's why this is going up a day later. I do apologise. I just needed a bit of respite yesterday for obvious reasons. So, once again, I'm up to 7 reviews on Apple Podcasts now, so thank you so much. Absolutely epic. Again, getting some great feedback. Keep it coming. Again, if you haven't already, please do subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. You subscribe to my YouTube channel. That'd really, really, really help me out. Very much so in doing this. You know, it'd be ace if in the future I could get up to doing more, so like 2 episodes a week. Obviously, I do what is good for my diary and what I can fit in. But at the moment, once a week is good for me. You know, down the line in the future, if this continues to do well and I'm getting good feedback, then maybe 2 episodes a week down the line. But for now, 1 works well and I'm getting good feedback. So just a massive thank you from the bottom of my heart, really. So last podcast, the subject we covered was obesity and the obesity crisis. And my thoughts on it, because obviously very close to my heart, because, I used to be bigger. I was a bigger individual. So I've been through what an awful lot of PTs haven't, I'm sorry to say. But so today's podcast, we're going to be covering the subject of what it's like to be clinically obese. Because a lot of you people listening to this will not have experienced it. A lot of people do not know what it's like to be bigger, to be obese, the mental health complications, how it makes you feel, what it is like to be bigger, how it impacts your mental health, your physical health, your social life, how it kind of affects every aspect in your life. And I want to share my experience from what I felt from when I was bigger, the goods, the pros, the cons, and what I went through. Now, this is all my experience. This is all my opinion. Someone else bigger may not be going through anything like that in today's day and age or anything like that, because things are different now. But this is all my opinion and all based on my experience. So I just wanted to get that cleared out of the way first. So my biggest weight I got to was 18 stone. If you've not listened to the first episode, please do go listen to. I divulge a little bit into it. I was 18 stone, and my biggest waist size was 44. Wasn't specifically my waist, but more kind of up on my stomach. I had somewhat of a donut ring that went around my center, that made it very hard to get clothing to fit me. And yeah, it's complex, but that started coming on me from the age of 11, and got increased more and more so from then on, really, which was probably due to lack of knowledge nutritionally for myself, from my parents, not their fault by any means. I think society and their generation wasn't a lot of education on nutritional foods and exercise and such forth in them growing up, and it wasn't a priority for them. So I was quite inactive. I didn't do an awful lot, wasn't very into sports. If I didn't have to, I didn't do it. So I ate majority like frozen-based foods. As I got older, I liked like treated foods. I couldn't stand fruit and vegetables, because my palate just hated it. If literally I was that child that if I put a pea or a broccoli or a green bean on my tongue, I'd gag, like legitimately. I just could not stand the taste. I could taste severe bitterness when eating vegetables. Fruit didn't mind more so, but I just genuinely didn't choose to or want to eat it. And I'd much rather have had chocolate like my majority of kids nowadays. So, there was the complications as a child. I wasn't the easiest of childs, let's put it that way. And as I said, vegetables just tasted very bitter to me. Didn't enjoy the taste of them, didn't enjoy eating them, so therefore I didn't want to. So I ate a lot of things like processed chicken, chips, I didn't mind potato, pizza, all these kind of foods. And I love things like McDonald's. And, back when I was younger, my father wouldn't take me to McDonald's because they had a bad hype back then towards the food that it sold at that point. So he'd much rather take me to a Wimpy or give me a cheaper because he thought that the food quality from these establishments was better than McDonald's, which probably back then, to be perfectly honest, wasn't far from the truth. Although I'm probably sure Wimpy was probably set in a similar page to what McDonald's was. But anyway, as I was saying, I was 18 stone, 44-inch waist was my biggest. I'd go to shops, clothes wouldn't fit me, and obviously it just got worse and worse throughout the years. As what I said, the statistic there was my biggest, and I've checked online, I was categorized as being clinically obese, 30 plus on the BMI scale. I was, clinically obese. And that was at my biggest point before I made the lifestyle change that I made. But obviously prior to that, it just got worse over the years. I think from my age of 11, the weight started to come on me, and you can see a little bit in photos when I was younger, a bit of additional weight coming on me when I was going swimming and doing surfboard and such forth like that. I could see a bit of weight coming on me, and it just increased over the years. And as I said, I think it was a mixture of bad foods, not bad foods, but calorically dense foods that I was eating that weren't so great for me, and the not so much amount of activity that I did that I didn't have to. And then obviously it came to a point where it's like a double-edged sword, especially in school and high school, because obviously when you get bigger, your body confidence and your confidence in yourself plummets. I think back when I was younger, there wasn't quite as many people that were bigger. So it definitely took a knock on my confidence and how I saw myself, even from a young age. Made me quite shy, made me quite withdrawn, and made me embarrassed, I think, is the biggest thing. I hated getting changed in the school changing rooms in front of all the other lads because obviously I was bigger. I wanted to always keep a t-shirt on because I was embarrassed from the way I looked. Didn't so much mind taking my pants off and showing my legs, but my stomach, because I was bigger, I had rolls and things like that. I hated my body and my physique. Really didn't like it, so I hated having to get changed in the PE, what do you call them, in the changing rooms in front of other lads, because I thought I was going to get bullied and thus forth like that. And that was probably where I started noticing that people treat you differently if you're bigger. I think definitely in school, definitely the kids that surrounded me treated me differently because I was bigger, indefinitely, because the C was being lazy, the C was being just, I don't know, they just take a disliking to you because you're different, because you're bigger. Probably less likely in today's day and age because we're a lot more accepting now from what things were back then. But it's definitely seen in a different light. Even by some teachers, treated me a little bit different. And, because of the way you are, especially when it came down to PE and stuff. And I just, because I felt I am so bad at sport. My mindset just completely went then. Talking about Wes. I'm so bad at sport. It is unbelievable. I legitimately have 2 left feet. I once went to play football with Wes and the lads when we used to work together. And I legitimately tripped up my own left foot as I was playing sport and running. I'm that bad at sport. So that also, with the fact that I was bigger, I felt slow, I felt sluggish. I just didn't enjoy playing sports. So because of that, I just kind of shunned away from it and didn't want to do it because it was just embarrassing to me. I hated it. I hated more so having to get changed in the change rooms in front of all the lads that I knew that would laugh at me and look at me in a different limelight, and treated me differently because I was bigger. That then also converted into me not being very good at sport and not being very confident. And it kind of made me enclose a little bit because I was just embarrassed because of the way that I looked and the way I felt, and didn't really know what to do back then to get help and to be put on the right direction. So I guess that's kind of where things started, and obviously things just spiraled and got worse, really, because I continued to be less active. I went to the school horticulture centre because I felt more comfortable there, doing less sport in school, wasn't eating good at home, and just the weight kind of went up and up and up because I wasn't very active at the weekends at home, didn't really do any sports. I did cycling, I didn't mind cycling. So obviously as time progressed, things got worse. Think clothes could fit me back then, but I started having to get larger sizes. And obviously, as time went on and on and on, as I was getting more towards 16, 17, 18, my weight continued to go up and up and up, because I was still not very active, still not eating the best, and the weight was just continued to increase, going from size medium to large tops to XL to triple XL. I got to the point in when we went shopping, then nothing would fit me at all. It got to the point where I couldn't get pants. I was having to go a bigger size on the waist to get pants up over my legs, and then having to wear like a belt on the top to fasten them. But then eventually got to the point where I couldn't even get pants up over my legs, and if I did, I couldn't even fasten them. And that was kind of the severity that it got to. And it got to the point where I was in shops that even the larger sizes wouldn't touch the sides. Literally. And I think back and I'm like, I don't think I actually wanted them to do a bigger size to fit me. I think at that point I wanted to change to fit into them. But I knew nothing about fitness and exercise, neither did my parents. Also, within that principle, I don't think it was just something that they're hoping that I was just going to either get a growth spurt to improve me, or to start getting fit, or to start doing more activity and fitness and sport and things. We're kind of waiting on that, but I never really asked for that help. And also, they'd never had a PT, they'd never known about nutrition, they couldn't even afford that, to be perfectly honest with you. So that option wasn't open to me. And, I just don't think it was, it's tough. So I was definitely stuck in a rut, and things were just getting more and more out of control. And because of that, I just became more and more of a recluse. I was just antisocial AF. No clothes would fit me nicely. You never feel kind of confident or happy wearing anything, because nothing kind of fits well because you're bigger. I felt like all the clothes I was putting on was just to cover me up and just to hide me. I didn't want a top that kind of showed my balls. I wanted everything to be baggy. I used to quite often wear a t-shirt or a vest with a shirt on top, because the shirt could be open and loose, and it would just kind of fall like straight on my side, so it wouldn't, because obviously I had like a roll around my center, it wouldn't like accentuate that and show that off. Although I still look big, don't get me wrong, but it fit me better and didn't kind of emphasize that roll or that part of me that I was insecure about and that I didn't want people to see. So people would always probably see me in like a shirt open with a t-shirt or vest underneath. In work, where I worked in Matalam, I would always wear a hoodie, no matter what. Even if I was ridiculously hot, to the point where I was melting, I would still wear my fleece or the hoodie. It was more of a zip-up fleece, really, but it's baggy, and it would hide me, and it wouldn't cling to me, and it'd be my security blanket. I remember there's a manager there that I used to work with, and she used to say to me, I think she was aware of how I felt about myself, and she used to say, when I was working my arse off and, I had a sweat on, she'd be like, Alan, aren't you hot? Why don't you take your fleece off? And I just never, I would never, that was my security blanket. Like, if it went missing, I would spend half an hour in the store trying to find my fleece, because it was like it's my security blanket. I put it on and I feel like it hid me from the world. I felt comfortable in it. Whereas if I just wore the t-shirt, it was always awkward for me ordering clothing in work, because it would always be usually too small, and never fit correctly. I'd always have to go and buy my own trousers to make sure that they fit me properly. And then the t-shirts I had have to order from work, I always try and get bigger. But yeah, so that made me feel really quite insecure, if I'm honest. And that was obviously an insecurity from being bigger and overweight. And that's the way I kind of, it made me feel. So some people that are bigger have an amazing outgoing personality, and it's a contrast, and they have this amazing personality and they're larger than life, and that kind of, but I was just the complete opposite. I was an absolute recluse, shy, quiet, timid, embarrassing myself, embarrassing my body shape. And that's why I got into like computer gaming. I love computer gaming because people online, as I touched on the first one, people couldn't see me. And because people couldn't see me, people couldn't judge me, because people, when I was younger, judged you. Like, I never got my first girlfriend until I was like the age of 18, 19. That was something kind of like pushed on me. And then eventually I got a girlfriend when I was like 20, and I was bigger, but that wasn't because of a confidence thing. Because of the way I was quiet, shy, I was bigger, I was always friend zoned. I never kind of got interest from from the opposite sex, in my opinion, ever. Automatically friend zoned. And then again, because I wasn't a very confident person, quite a recluse myself, I guess no one probably found me attractive either, because I wasn't outgoing. I was a nice person. Like, I was like soft and to what I would call a wet lettuce. But I guess I probably wouldn't find me very attractive because I was bigger, very shy, very quiet, very timid. A somewhat you'd call a inverted commas a swat. And a bit of a goody two shoes. I wouldn't upset anyone. I was just very, I guess, polite young man. And as I said, I was a recluse. And because I felt secure in my room, playing games at the time, that's majority where I lived. I'd go to work 4 hours, and then come home. I wouldn't stay a minute later because I wouldn't want to. There was a store manager there at the time who also didn't like me because I was bigger. Again, some of their exterior point of view, but because of the way I looked, automatically thought that I was lazy, wouldn't do sweet FA, and that I just let me arse, and I was just a lazy individual and I wouldn't do anything, and that wouldn't work. Again, kind of what people's external thoughts are of you before even knowing you, and that manager held that against me for years until he actually eventually got the sack in the well, we got investigated and then he got booted out. And then when he went, surprisingly, I kind of worked up the ropes in work, but that was when I started to lose weight. But again, that's an example of someone that, from the way that they thought they saw me, kind of had their own opinion of me as an individual and as a person, and didn't really, give me a chance, or, just treated me differently to everyone else because of the way I looked, and just automatically wrote me off as being a lazy, bone-addled individual, and didn't want to give me the time of day. And that's really hard, because when you're in a position like that, and it's almost like you feel a bit lost. Because obviously, the things I did and didn't do got me to being in that position, but I didn't know what else I could do about it. I didn't really ever think about having a PT or getting a nutritionist or anything like that. There wasn't a situation that I was open to, or think about even investing in. I was just a little bit lost, and I guess kind of like stuck in a rut. And I think you can get in quite a depressive state when you're bigger, because you get so kind of locked in your own mindset and in the four walls, thinking that you can't change, you're stuck the way you are, it's too hard to change, you can't do it on your own. And your own mindset can be your own demon in some aspects, and you feel like you get a bit trapped and a bit lost. And I think today's day and age that there's more venues now to reach out and be like, I need help. But back then it's just very much a you crack on and get on with it kind of attitude. You just it's life. Which is what I did, and that's why I became a recluse. I was stuck in my four walls, played computer games all the time, because the people online were, I spoke to like between 10 to probably 14, 16 hours a day when I wasn't in work, up all hours playing computer games, because that was my security blanket. That was my home away from everything. I was most happy there because they couldn't judge me. They couldn't see me. They just knew me as this voice, as what I could chat and say to them. And I had a personality, and I was larger than life on there. I was a bit cocky. I was a bit of a little shit. But it was I could be that. It wasn't a different person, but I could be confident because they couldn't look at me and treat me differently to other people. They just knew me for who I was, and the personality I wasn't there. They couldn't see me, and that's kind of how bad things were back then. That people that could see you treated you differently. I do think things have got a lot better now. I don't think by any means now that it's perfect, but I think back then it was a lot harder, and that made me very shy, very insecure, and in quite a bad mental headspace. And as I kind of touched on before about depression, I think an awful lot of people could say that they suffer from depression because of being bigger. I challenge you, if you've never been overweight before, go into a gym, go and pick up 2 dumbbells, get 20 kilos in each hand, and then try doing everything you do in a normal day life with those 2 dumbbells on your hands, or even like a sandbag across your shoulders that weighs 20 kilos, or more like 40 kilos. I mean, I was 44 kilos heavier than what I am now, the weight I got down to. And then try and do your normal day ablutions with that on your shoulders, going for a walk, walking up the stairs, going to the toilet, carrying your shopping, going for a walk, trying to do a jog, trying to do all this stuff with additional weight on your back. It's freaking hard work. And I think that's kind of what infuriates me a little bit with the fitness industry, and that's why I think I do so well with some of my clients, is because I've been there and I've been a bigger person before. I know how fucking hard it is to lose weight. I know how it feels to do your first ever plank, your first ever squat, and all these things with the extra 20, 50 to 60 kilos on your back that a lot of people have never experienced before. And it feels like hell. It's hard. It's bloody, I will never forget the first time I stepped in the gym. One of the lads that came over to my house last night, he remembers the first time I went to Victoria Gym or the Olympic bar, and I couldn't even lift that because I had no strength, no muscle on me. Even though I was a bigger person, I had no strength behind me because I had no muscle mass. I just didn't train or do fucking anything. Truly believe that a lot of people don't understand what it feels like to exercise when you're bigger, to try and run. You know how fast it gets you out of breath trying to run up like stairs or carry something heavy, or anything like that. It's bloody hard work. And unless you've been bigger, you can't relate and you can't experience it. I challenge any PT to go on a bulk and try and bulk up and put on 5 to 6 to 7 stone on top of their current body weight and go through a weight loss phase and feel how different and harder it is to exercise and lose weight and do other things you'd normally do that take for granted. And take the experience and see what it's like, because it's fucking disgusting. It is. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. I remember like it was yesterday trying to do my first ever plank, and how gassed you are after 10 seconds, and how you can't hold it any longer. The drain it has on the body when having that additional weight on you. It's so easy for a PT that's never been through that before to turn around and say, you know, oh, you're not pushing hard enough. You need to push harder, because it's so freaking difficult. And I think that's a life experience that I've had that has advantaged me so much and made me into the person that I am today, and makes me a bit more humble and genuine toward people, because having had the experience, I understand what it takes to get from being bigger to being slimmer, to getting to where you want to be, how long it takes, the right way to do it. You know, it takes time. It's fucking hard work. It'll probably be the hardest thing you will ever go through in your life. But if you do it the right way, i.e. not ridiculous like dieting or doing fads or boot camps or all that bullshit, doing it the right way, the slow way, you will achieve your goal. And when you achieve the goal, you will feel fucking incredible, because you'll have earned it. And because you'll have earned it and you're taking your time you got from A to B for however long it takes, and you succeed that goal, you'll have better understanding of nutrition, of training and everything, and you'll be able to sustain that goal for the rest of your life. That's the way it should be done. And as I said, I think a lot of people don't understand truly what it's like to be bigger, how harder it is to exercise, and the strain it has on the body. It is, you know, I can't even compare. I mean, I train hard now and do weight training, badminton and stuff, and I struggle from time to time. But the struggles that I go through now, through strength training and everything that I do now, is nowhere near as difficult as what it was when I was bigger. Genuinely, they are polar opposites, and it is completely different. I do think a lot of trainers